we believe, and as my brochure here that we're passing out today says, that the best interest rate for student loans is zero, both federal and provincial. This is, I guess, I would call it one small step, but it's an example of something concrete that the federal government can do very easily. No worries about jurisdiction. They're into the student loan game. It's something that's important to make university and other post-secondary education more accessible. I think we do have an example here in Newfoundland and Labrador where the atmosphere created. I would have to give credit, a lot of credit, to the student movement, particularly the Canadian Federation of Students, and their lobbying efforts and education efforts over the last 10 to 15 years in convincing governments that accessibility to education is very important. When I went to university some nearly 40 years ago, I guess now, I am actually a beneficiary of progressive education policy. We remember the day, some of you don't because you weren't born, when Newfoundland and Labrador was the leader in having free tuition in this country. And that was, you know, an important thing to have happen to this province. It encouraged a lot of people to go to university who would not otherwise have been able to go, and I guess I'm one of them. And we've gotten away from that. In fact, we've gotten away from that when the time has changed to the point that graduating from high school is no longer a job entry qualification. It's a qualification to get out of high school. And in order to get a decent job and make a decent living or create a family, you have to have some post-secondary education. So when it's looked at that way, we have to see that the public has a primary responsibility to ensure that young people have access to post-secondary education in order to participate in our society. So we're saying one thing that can be done, and it can be done very quickly, is to eliminate the rates for student loans. That's been done provincially, it needs to be done federally. Basically, the Government of Canada should follow the lead of the Newfoundland and Labrador government. Now, I'll have questions in a moment. I just want to say a few more things because I do think, you know, this is a very important measure. I will be introducing a private members resolution in the House of Commons next week to put it on the order of business for Parliament. I will be looking across the country for support for that idea and encourage people in other parts of the country to support that. This is something that you need to build support for, just as the Canadian Federation of Students here in Newfoundland and Labrador built support over a number of years to get the government to agree with the proposition that was being put forward. I think we need to do that on a national basis. I'm prepared to take a lead role in that with my motion. Our post-secondary education critic, Nikki Ashton, who is a member of Parliament for Churchill, Manitoba, is also supportive of this, and we'll be working together to, with the CFS and others who are interested in this concept, to get as much support for this concept as possible, to make it clear that the federal government does have a particular role in encouraging students across this country to be able to have access to post-secondary education. It's not the full answer. I think anybody who's been involved in this issue knows that it's not as simple as that. The federal government has a stronger role to play. In fact, Canada is one of the few countries in the OECD, the Organization for Economic Development. The 27 countries, I think there are, but one of the few countries that doesn't have a policy, a national post-secondary education strategy is Canada, believe it or not. And you know, we know how important that is for the country. We know how important it is for individuals who are going to be benefiting from this, but clearly it's also a national policy issue that the better educated your population is, the better able you are to place yourself in the world, to build up and protect your own country, but also to help other countries to progress and develop and build a better world. So it's a student policy, it's a youth policy, but it's also a national policy for Canada. And I, for one, am very much behind this. I know what it means to individuals, and I know what it can mean to a country. So that's the basic issue. There's a number of reasons for this. I mean, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, I think you know, it may surprise some to know, but it's been cited a number of times that one of the most significant factors in young people leaving the province is the burden of student loan debt. They leave the province because they have to find a way, the quickest way, to get rid of that student loan debt. That's something, and that's probably one of the reasons why the Newfoundland government has moved the way it has to try and make it less of a burden to students. So we do have, you know, this is a policy that would help, you know, existing students or encourage existing students to continue with their education, but would also provide some relief to students who have already graduated or left university who are having to pay off this debt as well as pay the interest rates. Probably a good time to introduce is like the province said when they did it, when the interest rates are low, because the costs wouldn't be as great initially. But I think it's something that we need to see the government of Canada go much farther than it has and to make this a priority for the future. So that's basically the statement, folks. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. We'll deal with the media here first, and if anyone else wants to engage a question, I'll be happy to answer that too. But starting off with anyone from the media who have questions. Yes?
Do you have any estimate of the cost?
Well, I think if you look at the overall level of federal student loan debt, federal student loan debt is around $13 billion. So 1 percentage point, if the interest rate was 1%, you're talking about a cost of $130 million a year per percentage point. In the grand scheme of things, with the budget of the government of Canada, this is not a huge amount of money. In fact, for a priority like this, I guess the question is the cost of public education. Should it be borne by the individuals who couldn't afford to go to university or post-secondary education without a loan, or should it be a public responsibility? So the cost, yes, is important, it's a factor, but it's really about choices in public policy. The only people who have loans are the people who couldn't afford to pay their own way, or whose parents couldn't afford to pay their way. And so, you know, we're basically talking about the cost of post-secondary education being placed on students. There's a national benefit to this.